over the course of this week, you will hear a lot of ideas.
Elaborated group feedback in virtual learning environments.
Sharing of rich media between students, so they can simply drag and drop movies onto the shared virtual screen.
I have a way to talk to my agents. I basically just talk via a cell phone.
Conference is really the big thing in our community.
As often happens, probably the most rewarding side of the conference for me was the conversations in the hallways and in between the sessions, and sometimes during the sessions that I had with other people from around the field. There's a great opportunity to meet up with other people who are doing similar sorts of thinking.
I thought that Tim Koschmann and the two people who added to his things, they were still a little bit too friendly with each other.
I wrote that CSCL is a field of research centrally concerned with meaning and the practices of meaning making in the context of joint activity, and the ways in which these practices are mediated through designed artifacts.
I would change that to how these practices could be productively mediated through designed artifacts.
What throws me off is the field of study art. And I think if we could replace that with the idea that it's about design and study, we'd be better off, or we could just use the Deweyan term that it's a field of inquiry.
I'm embarrassed by this question, I think. And we have this discussion about creating a society of something that will maintain the life of this CSCL conference, pass money from one conference to another. And we have this discussion about whether this should be a CSCL society, and we all agree that the word is too narrow to describe what we do.
Sometimes we can get lost in theories.
I would argue a little bit to introduce this morning's keynote address that there is more to learning than learning in schools. That doesn't mean that we want to say school learning or learning in schools is not important, but the other learning is equally important.
The type of work, the type of data collection that you do is very painstaking. It's also emotionally draining because these are serious matters. And so I don't recommend this particularly as a field of research. There are other very interesting examples of co-configuration work where the hierarchies and the struggles and the human suffering may not be so visible. What is the object of your work? What are you trying to accomplish? And you say, okay, right now my object is to present a paper tomorrow. Sure. But that's only a very temporary moment that goes away. What's behind it? What are you trying to do? It's a hard question, but basically that's the issue in activity theory that kind of holds together activity systems, that they have some object to accomplish. But the object is like a moving horizon. You can never fully accomplish it. This is a huge retooling challenge. You need tools for this. And this is where I think the computer support potentially comes in. Now, in our case, we can't start from saying, hey, let's put together a nice computer system to fix this. First of all, the history of medical informatics and information systems that are supposed to do this job is not particularly impressive. It's a graveyard of failures. Go to any hospital setting and start digging. You see multiple layers of failed information systems attempts to deal with this issue. So I don't think it's a technological problem to begin with. It's something where you should very, very slowly and gradually develop something which is actually usable for the practitioners, and then build that into more fancy technologies.
There are around 25 student volunteers from all over the world. We've been doing various things from registration to AV support.
Malaysia, Gabe and Rogerio have ensured as well that we've had an opportunity to see people who might be important for our own research and work and to meet with people who are important in the CSCL field.
It was very easy to just connect with people afterwards by seeing how people were responding inside the session. Also, I really like the 2-hour lunch break. Not because I could have 2 hours for lunch, but actually by the time you spend time talking with people, it actually made a big difference to have that extra time. You didn't feel like you had to rush.
A few things though that I'd like to see a little more of in the future. Sometimes it seems that a lot of the emphasis is on using current technologies off the shelf that was designed for other things and stretching them into the uses that people here are thinking about. I'd really like to think more about how we should rethink the technologies to make them more appropriate for the type of ideas that people are talking about at this conference.
We have set up a BCW server to support the conference participants here at the CSCL 2002. Which contains all relevant papers. We have uploaded them and organized them, and we provide room for discussions about these papers and the interactive event. We hope that we will support the server for months to come, and we hope that people do continue to register themselves and do use the discussion forums to frequently and freely exchange their ideas on what has been going on here.